Good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning. I believe it's the 18th today. November 18th, going to give you a little public rundown. Got some information I want to share with you about the lake, about some surrounding lakes that are fishing all right as well. And personal invite to upgrade, as always, to the members only channel and something even newer than that. But let's tell you about the lake. We're down in the 50s now. We've had a pretty decent cold spell for several days, cool nights right next to the freezing temperature. Old man winter has showed up a little early this year, and it makes me think two things. I'm hoping maybe that we'll have a normal winter and old man winter will go away normally, and we'll have a nice February, March, April transition, unlike the last couple of years where March has been miserably cold. So if you remember, the MLF anglers were here in mid-March last year, 12th, 13th, 14th range, somewhere in that. And then they fished in sleet and ice on the boats, and it was awful with 49-degree water temperature in March. We don't want that. So let's hope that old man winter showing up here in November, December, January, February, warm trending, and we have a normal spring next year. Let's also hope, due to our low lake levels, we're at 39607 as of this morning, that we get some rain. So, hey, God answers prayers, and the more of us that pray, the more that I believe that is just reinforcing of what we want. God wants to give us what we want, what we need. So, hey, if you're not a prayer, I'm asking you to pray. Those of you that do pray, you already know what I'm saying. Pray for rain. Pray for rain. If we can fill this lake up or even get 4 or 5 feet of rain, 2023 will be one of the most epic springs we've had in a long, long time. It needs it. It just would be super special with all the new growth in the shorelines, the baby button willows and the baby buckbrush and all the little saplings and lots of weeds and bushes and grass. Put that underwater, and we'll have a what they call a new lake syndrome experience on Lake Fork. Basically, if you don't know what new lake syndrome is, give it a Google, check it out. But when lakes go low in drought, and then all of a sudden they fill back up again, fish come out of a woodwork, and especially a lot of big ones. They just show up. You don't think they're there. That new lake, that new water that's attractive to them really, really makes it awesome. And of course, springtime, no better time to have that kind of shallow cover for all the new babies and the spawn. It just should be good. So pray for rain. Clarity, 0 to 2 foot. As I said, we're getting down there in the mid-50s, 55 to 60 degree temperature. The fish really should, in theory, be firing up on Lake Fork because there's not much time left before it gets below 55 degrees. Once it gets below 55 degrees, they get a little lethargic. The real big fish at that point got the eggs calling on their body. The growth of those eggs really are at a pretty good rate, even though it's cold, December, January. Those biggest fish are really hungry at that time of year, and that's why we see the biggest fish always caught December, January, February. The ShareLunker fish, that's also why they have the ShareLunker program from November through April. That's when the fish are holding those eggs. That's when they're more commonly caught, and that's when they're the most beneficial to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. So don't forget about ShareLunker program. There's actually 4 levels of ShareLunker program. You have an 8-pound class fish, which you can report. You catch an 8-pound class fish in the Texas areas, you can report that fish and you can get on the ShareLunker program. It's just a certificate and acknowledgement of the fish. They have a 10-pound class, same deal. They have a 13-pound class, which is the true ShareLunker program, but if your fish is not 100% Florida strain or have the genetics that they want, they'll give that back to you and you make the ShareLunker program. If you become the, I believe it's called Legacy ShareLunker program, that means your fish was the right fish. They actually were able to milk the eggs from the fish and have you release your fish later on after they've got those eggs, and then they use those babies and disperse them throughout other lakes in Texas. And I believe you even get to choose where some of those babies go. That's the ShareLunker Legacy. So 4 levels of being a ShareLunker program, pretty cool. Back to what I was saying, when that water gets below 54 degrees, Mark Pack said it best, you better break out your pitching and flipping stick because they get tied in the wood and they get in the junk, they get hard to catch. Texas rigs and jigs are your best bets, and go slow, 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 slow. fish the stumps, the roots, the channel swings, and things like that. But right now, you should be able to catch fish shallow. You should be able to go halfway back to the creeks and throw some square bills, spinner baits, chatter baits, underspins. You might find a top water bite on a warm trending day. When we're having these cloud covers and these cold days and it's cooling, they're probably not going to be as active as once it stabilizes and begins to kind of subtly warm or be stable. So we get a 2 or 3 day run like this weekend. Looks like it's going to be Arctic cold again. They're probably not going to chase stuff because they're getting cold. But stable and warm trending even a degree or two back on the upgrade. And you might find even a shallow top water bite, like a lake, what you call it, a little popper, Lake Fork popper, or a Berkeley big pop. You may even throw like for some reason I'm a little tired this morning. My eyes are puffy and it's not rolling off my tongue, but a whopper plopper, the Berkeley El Chapo. Sometimes that's a really good, real slow, don't fish it fast, but you could find a top water bite doing that. Me personally, I would be spooning now. I would absolutely be throwing a jigging spoon, and I would absolutely be throwing some kind of a flutter spoon. And if you dare, I would be throwing some kind of an Alabama rig down in the depths. I'd be fishing mostly the points. The reason being is falling water points those fish out. They've been using points for months because we just don't have stability in Lake Fork and the water keeps going down. I say it, and I'm going to say it till my deathbed. Falling water points out the fish, whether it be secondary points or main lake points. You'll find more fish on points when the water in any lake, anywhere in the world, is falling. When the water is rising, that rises the fish. And they go to the banks, you get enough water rise at the right time of year, they'll count the ants on the shoreline. They'll be in the shallowest water you can imagine, counting ants. So rising water rises fish, falling water points them out. Do I be fishing points? I'm going to give you guys some decent information in this public rundown. I'd be using jigging spoons and flutter spoons, probably the 5-inch flutter spoon and a 1-inch jigging spoon, 1 ounce, I'm sorry, not inch, 1 ounce jigging spoon, 5-inch flutter spoon. I'd be using it around 16 to 24 feet of water on points. I would use my sonar to make sure that I've got at least some balls of bait in the area and or on the point itself. And then one little secret that I will share with you. Remember that when you're using that jigging spoon, you're going to catch a variety of fish. You're going to catch white bass. You're going to catch yellow bass. You're going to catch largemouth occasionally. You might catch a crappie or two. You might catch a catfish on the jigging spoon. Just remember this little tip. When you're catching yellow bass on that jigging spoon, you're in the right spot for a giant bass on Lake Fork in this time of year, November, December. So that's a little tip. Bar fish, yellow bass, November, December, January, go really well with big bass on Lake Fork. Okay. If you want to know a little more in-depth details about what I'm talking about right now, you want to know some key locations, you want to know some names of points that I'm specifically highly recommend you go fish. If you want to know some baits, I've got baits right here, the exact colors, the exact weights, the sizes. If you want to know boat positioning, if you want to know more details than I give here publicly, then subscribe. I'm inviting you to subscribe to my members only channel. $4.99 a month. I give an upgraded report. I give more details. I also have just now added an additional upgraded members channel. It's called Let's Talk Fishing. The Let's Talk Fishing channel is now $9.99 a month, and here's what it includes. It includes all the perks of the members only channel, but it includes once a week an even more in-depth, detailed lesson. Not so much a fishing report any longer, but an in-depth, detailed lesson about something specific. Last week it was about creek swings, how one side makes a wall and a deep creek swing, the other makes an underwater point. We talked about the stumps, the roots. We talked about where to place the boat and how to fish it. So I use a board like this right here, and we go in extreme depth in the Let's Talk Fishing channel. The Let's Talk Fishing channel also is going to have once a month a random winner that's going to receive a care package from McFarland Fishing. That care package is going to include a lot of different things. Whatever I feel like I want to put in it, first of all. I may put some shirts in it sometime. I may put a hoodie in it. But it's going to include lures from my current pro staff and sponsorships like Lake Fork Tackle Lures, Go Fish Lures, Tidelines UVs. It's also going to include some baits and lures of what we were using to find success during that current month. So for example, the winner of the Let's Talk Fishing channel in November will likely receive a couple of spoons. This month I caught some fish on some square bills. So I'm going to give them the baits that were working for the month on Fork and surrounding lakes. That's the addition. Let's Talk Fishing will have a lesson, and it'll also include a little more details about other lakes in the area. Okay, so that's it for your public rundown this week. I can't think of anything else that's important at the time. I can tell you a couple things, tips that I recommend in the wintertime. The weather here in Northeast Texas can change real fast, so be prepared when you go out on the boat. You come out this weekend, you're coming out tomorrow, it's Arctic weather threat. I have seen Lake Fork. If you're local, you know this, but if you're not, you're a visitor. I've seen Lake Fork drop 40 degrees in 5 minutes, literally. I've seen a beautiful, beautiful morning where it's 68, 70, 78 degrees and fogged in, and all of a sudden it changes direction of wind and a nor'easter shows up, an Arctic nor'easter shows up, and just like that, 40 degrees swing, and it will knock the socks off you. And if you're up some creek arm or you're way up there somewhere where you got to idle your way out, you can't run out, and even running in that cold weather, don't have the right gear, you're going to regret it. So that's one more public tip. Be safe this time of year. Make sure you're prepared and know what you're getting into when you go out on Lake Fork. Get yourself some kind of bow lanes too, by the way, because that low lake level is real dangerous. It's real dangerous. And you don't want to have issues and get stuck out there in the cold. Okay? Stump a stump somewhere and be stuck out there for several extra hours because you're needing to be towed in somewhere or whatnot. And it's going to ruin your day. And if not, maybe even give you hypothermia. So that's it. I appreciate you. I look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks for your public subscription. Please hit the like button if you found this good. Comment below if you will. And as always, I wish you great fishing. God bless.